What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Project Manga Podcast, where we cover Ayashimon, Sakamoto Days, Mission Yozakura Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, and One Piece week to week. Back this week covering Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 18. I am your host, Eagle.
And I'm Mellow Yenis.
And as you can see, Nox not here with us this week. He actually, ran into some unexpected obligations that he had forgotten about. So
he's doing what
we had to do it without him. So that being said, as always, before we get started, go ahead and take a look in that description box down below, where you can find links to any and all of our individual social media accounts, such as Twitter, online communities like Discord, audio listening platforms to consume the podcast on, as well as ways to support the show like our online store or our Patreon. Also, while you're down there, you can find links, not links, but timestamps rather, to conveniently navigate yourself through the video and avoid spoilers for series that you are not current in. And while you're down there, you might as well slap a like on the video. Helps us climb the algorithms. So yeah, with all that being said, what a fantastic week in Jump.
Man, I'm really enjoying this one. Pity about My Hero Academia, but they're in climax territory, so I'm okay with them taking time to really make it work.
Yeah, and I mean with the Dobby stuff that is going down right now, yeah, Horikoshi's deep in the Duffy right now. He's pulling everything out.
I really like this episode for Ayashimon.
Yeah, this chapter of Ayashimon was fire, and with that being said, I suppose we can probably just jump right into it. Chapter 18 of Ayashimon. Who are you?
I'm really glad they finally got into
Kyo stuff, yes.
Because they've been teasing it since chapter 2.
Yeah.
Maybe chapter 1, but definitely chapter 2 onwards, and I'm just come on, especially since it's Kotan's an old boy and used to run with the old crew.
Yeah, and we start right off with Koton going into the flashback, basically, or Urara asking, saying, "I never bothered to actually learn about my father. I just drowned myself in that desire for revenge and hatred, and kind of went all in, tunnel vision." So can you tell me who is he? And we go right into it, man. First panel we see of Kyo is him literally beating Koton's ass. Yeah, this ain't a one-on-one. I just wanted to see what you were about. You know what I'm saying? Join up. But Kyo, man, looking I like that we've only seen him looking like a regular person up until this point, and then the first time we actually see him, he's just so
horrifying.
What is the difference between Ayashimon and Oni?
I think Oni is literally just a type of yokai. Onis are basically giant devils, basically.
Because Kyo implied that he needs more gold to sustain himself than other Ayashimon and shit like that, right? Later in the chapter,
yeah,
that was kind of implied.
They're basically a type of ogre. They're known for just being very powerful, and so I just think that they're famous, right? Onis are powerful devils, ogre devils that exist within the Japanese folklore, and they're just I think that the cost of him existing is because he's a powerful, potent supernatural entity which just consumes more power, right? He's too powerful for his own good, whereas Kotan's a bolt of cloth. Ten is able to subsist off pocket change because he's just this low-ranking yokai. They paid him in chicken feed and bruises and coupons. He was not doing good.
Kyo needs actual ducats to survive. He needs real money, and Oni. So yeah, I mean, there's probably Ayashimon, yokai, Oni. is maybe the power structure
Yeah,
there.
they're all types, but I just feel like they're extremely powerful and old school because you get like old stories like red oni blue oni, two giant people that like wanted to be friends, and so they have that story. Or like the idea like Momotaro goes off into adventure, the Peach Boy, and like befriends three animals to like defeat the oni that is like the cause of badness within land. Like it's the original demon lord effectively.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand why like an entity of his like that tier of entity is just like you're just burning through the money that you actually need. And I really like the framing of it where he's like, because like you see the old leader struck down by illness on his deathbed. You see that in like delinquent mobster stories so often, but I was like, that's a cool twist on it, and the fact that like you're running out of money. You're literally doing the opposite of like what Magic Johnson did, where he's like, I got sick and I threw money at the problem and now I'm fine. And it's like, God, Kyo didn't do that.
Yeah. No, it's almost like a reverse pyramid. Like he's dispersing all the money to all the people below him and taking the smallest cut himself. So yeah, he's like can't subsist. It's not the typical dynamic you'd see in like an underworld mob boss. But
yeah, especially since their like existence is tied to it, it makes that kind of sacrifice like much more noble, which is surprising from like what like A wasn't really expecting that like level of nobility from a yokai. You know what I mean? Because they're just like yokai are about their base issues, right? Like when like Ten's boss got smoked by Maruro, and they're just like, oh, okay, whatever. And he's like, why aren't you guys mad? And he's like, oh, we're yokai. We just don't give a fuck about each other. So like, it's what made Kyo stand so far apart from like what's there. And I'm like, wow, he really was like a driving force for good.
Yeah.
That led by example and like paid the cost of his like equity.
Yeah.
It's tragic in that way.
So yeah, we just get a bunch of like really feel good scenes here with Kyo, and we get kind of the origin of Dopo. And we see that he's like their cup bitch, like he's filling their cup. You know what I'm saying? He's like
he's the junior.
Yeah. He's the junior in all the meetings, We see Kyo with all the head executives and the Dopo like pouring their sake cups and shit. And everybody's kind of clowning him like, get rid of that dopey ass mop head, bro. And
you can't fight.
You can't fight, bro. You ain't shit. But
get rid of that yee ass haircut.
Get rid of that yee ass haircut. And then it moves us into like, the scene we were just kind of touching on with Kyo and Kotone, where Kyo is on his deathbed or on his, kind of bedriddenness, sickness, talking about how he's been dispersing most of the funds to the rest of the organization and taking the smallest cut himself, and thus has not been able to survive. And I just like, I want to know I want to know how the scheme unfolded.
Which one? Dopo's?
Dopo's, yeah.
Oh, like how he got this like different will, or like if they're like
yeah, we obviously know it's like an alternate will or different.
Yeah, he managed to like. Oh, so they introduce a concept later in the chapter where the people that lose a ritual duel are forced to obey the people that beat them as part of the terms of the winner and loser.
Really?
So what if he ritual dueled the lawyer and then forced him to rewrite a new will and accept it and act as if that was the original will? because I think that'd be a really interesting take, because it's like less about taking out, like forcing Kyo to dictate something as opposed to forcing someone that would have the ability to do that, and then probably using his trusted junior position, get Kyo to like sign it, and then do a little good old fashioned 5-finger discount embezzling and just steal what's left of Kyo's money to forcefully end his life.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's kind of what they did.
Yeah, that would be an easy, definitely as opposed to like poisoning him. I think just slinking somebody in there till they just take the rest of his money stash and now he just withers away and dies. That's
Yoink
definitely the
bank.
play. Yoink his piggy bank. But yeah, Dopo definitely comes in with the lawyer. Like now all of a sudden he's got this mink coat that he wears.
He's got the roses. I think it's interesting that like he literally got rid of that yee-ass haircut, and the fact that he like was like constantly like pushing his hair out of his eyes caused like the evolution. Like this is the transition point from him to like now, where his like hair is like super long on one side and he's kind of doing that. I don't remember what that means body language wise, but I feel like it's like a reassuring gesture, like he's trying to reassure himself that he's correct. Yeah. So probably some underhanded dealings.
I think you might be right on with that, about the body language as far as the hand gesture goes. That does seem like kind of a reassuring self-assurance gesture.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why he's so eager to like enforce that he's in charge.
Yep. And so we got Mauro saying like, well, why don't we just go right to Dopo and ask him? I'll punch him right in his face. And they're kind of explaining like, yeah, Kabukicho's not the same place anymore. You can't really just walk in there unarmed, gung-ho, expect to come back out the other end alive. Like, it's hard out here in these streets at this point. And so they're saying, we're going to want to rally some allies, get some people here on our side. And he's going through old organization members that he thinks might help or may not. Tamagawa of Kori Hotels, he says absolutely not, just because he can't stand him. Everything's a transaction to that guy. He's a businessman through and through. I think Shira will probably end up helping based on the events of the chapter.
Oh, yeah, the guy who's the loner?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, too.
Because the other guy, Rukorogi, like, he gets killed at the end of the chapter, right?
Oh, yeah, no. He definitely bursts into coins.
Yeah.
Like, this new girl, like, the head of Club Undine is, like, a kappa, and she steals his Shirakodama, which is called the anus jewel. It's literally an anus jewel. So kappas are like water aquatic boogeymen. They basically look like a cross between like Golduck and a turtle.
How do we know she's a kappa?
She has this little plate on her head, and the fact that she reached into the guy's anus and stole his soul.
Okay.
So the scales on her chest and like the aquatic theme of her fish, it ties into the Undine and also ties into the kappa. If you look at like the Alice band that's like on her forehead, it's a little dish. And kappas are basically like these duck.
They got a little bowl in their head to store the water, right? Yeah, they got the bowls in their heads
that stores the water, and they can be tricked into like bowing. And if you get them to bow low enough, they'll pour the water out of their head, and then they'll like be weaker.
Oh.
They're basically like red caps. They're kind of murderous, will eat you, but they need to like meet a certain condition to like maintain their like strength. So they need to like stay in water and stuff. Like
they gotta trick you, and then they beat the shit out of you and eat you.
Yeah, like kappas were known for like eating like people's livers, and so
What the
they
fuck?
believed that the human body had the shirikodama, and it was basically like a crystal ball or something inside you that like was just inside the anus and represented your soul. And so if you had your shirikodama removed, your soul of the whole removed from your body, you would die, and they would take it out of you to like get to their way to the liver inside the human body. And they believed that because drowned bodies have a puckered asshole, like the like inverted asshole as if something had been pulled out. It's because like gases build up in the human body, and then as you're dead, you rot, you poop or fart a lot, and that's why it's distended like that. But like back then, they had no idea, and they're just like, "What was taken from this body? Maybe it's your soul. Maybe the soul is inside your butt."
What was taken from this body? Oh my
That's
god.
literally what they were thinking, and that's why people believed in the Shirokadama, and they believed that the Kappa was the one that took it.
Like, yo, they're pulling us under. They rip our fucking soul out of our ass, and it's over.
Eat our organs. It's bad. It's a bad way to go.
That's wild.
But yeah, that's the new girl, and it's the cutest Kappa ever. It's hilarious.
I'm wondering about this guy in the back too, or this girl in the back.
Dude, she looks cold blooded. I really want to see what she's all about. I don't really quite know, but there's definitely plenty of like yokai and supernatural creatures that are known for like being uh oh god, I'm just thinking of Monty Python's like watery tarts that throw out on swords. But like there's lots of water women in myth and story, like the Little Mermaid or the Lady in the Lake. All kinds of stuff like that.
Ursula.
Yeah, I was thinking that too with like the long hair and stuff.
She's got the ink spot on her eye, maybe.
Ooh, that'd be cool. I wonder. That'd be really interesting.
I mean, I'm sure there's like an octopus oni or an octopus yokai Ayashimon, right?
Yeah,
There's gotta
I know there's like a giant
Squid.
sea priest. It's called the Sea Priest. It's like Umeboshi. It's referenced in Ranger Reject, but it's like this giant black silhouette that like stands in the harbors and stuff at people. It's basically just a spooky sailor story.
Yeah.
So that might be an option. I think it's kind of interesting that like the Kappa girl steals the soul ball, the Shirikodama, and Undines are basically like Greek river or lake spirits, and they are thought to be like they're shaped like women, they're made out of the elements, and they don't have souls. But they could marry a human person, and then they would get and it would shorten their lifespan in half, but they would gain a human soul. And then their children would be humans with human souls, but with like an aquatic feature. So I think it's interesting that like this girl is for a part of Club Undine, which is like soulless water woman, and her whole thing is she reached into a butthole and stole a guy's soul and snatched it out of him. And I'm like, that's kind of funny. Like when you think about it, I'm just like,
She said,
this is a weird
nah! Fisted his shit like nobody's business.
She really fisted Mister.
That's wild. So yeah, basically she snuffs out their only hope at an alliance as far as Khotone is concerned. So we definitely, things are up in the air as far as like what they can do going forward, who they'll have to ally themselves with. I think like we were talking about earlier, the Shira dude will probably come into play and end up helping, being that Rukurogi just got killed, and Tamagawa of the Kori hotels, Khotone doesn't like too much. Yeah, he's kind of a stickler.
Yeah, I feel like Tamagawa probably tried to like maintain independence, but like, yeah, we'll serve you. You don't need to ritual duel us. We'll just work for you and make money as long as business keeps on going. Like, we understand that if to like resist is just gonna be a whole lot of trouble, and we don't want that.
Right.
Um, that's kind of what I pick up from that. Like, they might even end up working with him later, but like, they're just like, well, shit. The part that I'm interested in is if you beat someone in a ritual duel and you impose like actions on them, can another person beat that same person in a ritual duel and impose contradicting information, like impose like a contradicting rule, or say like, hey, fight for us and our allies, and then someone says fight for us and our allies, so would that be negated? And so it's like, well, you're both my allies and you want me to fight you the other side. I literally choose to do nothing because I can't.
Does not compute. Does
Like,
not compute.
I was like, I'm not allowed to. I can't fight for both of you, so I will not do anything. Which I think would be a kind of interesting way to like reduce the number of like foot soldiers on the field, you know? So like if they do that, it like you get the people on the ground and you can do tiers of like bad guys, and as you like try to reach towards like the head dopo and have that like proper one-on-one. But like it's enforced because you've already forced this like neutrality on them.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot to like look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. I cannot wait for the upcoming chapters of Ayashimon. But I think that about does it for tonight's chapter. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and get right into chapter 65 of Sakamoto Days, Mutual Fans.
Man, this
solid chapter.
I'm really excited about Akira. Like, she seems like her aunt's super cool. Rion's like dope as hell. Like to be like considered on the same level as like Nagumo or Sakamoto. So like I have high expectations, and I'm not entirely sure who the young person is that Azuki was like, yeah, we've got a person in the plant, and the like we've got a person on the inside for this like recruitment situation. And I still think that like I'm kind of in between, because I wonder if it's like Kaji, who has like said nothing. He's one of the new special recommendations. He hasn't said anything, but he's helpful to Shin and like Mufuyu, and he's helping them out for like no real reason. But like that might be able to be explained either way. It might be Toramaru, because like Azuki preferred Sakamoto to his old self. So like having a girl that's like an extreme fangirl of like the cool, collected, dedicated killer version of Sakamoto kind of like makes their kind of like personalities a little more in line. Or it could be Akira. And I like, just because so Uzuki would know, like, if he studied up on Sakamoto and Nagumo, he would definitely study up on Rion. And so he might know that, like, Akira exists. And he reached out to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be nuts. Fuck. I just didn't, like, you're throwing all these names out, bro. I read Sakamoto Days so fast, and like I just need to.
No worries. Oh, so Mufuyu is the guy with the face mask.
He's the face mask guy. Yeah. And
Kaji
he's just calm, collected.
Is the dude with the hat.
Yep. And then Shin is the dude, the blonde dude.
Yeah. Our little telepath.
And then Toramaru is the crazy chick. We talked about that kind of pre.
Yeah. She's kind of crazy, like hardcore, and like Toramaru seems like such a masculine name, so I think it's interesting. But like at the same time, like it fits pretty well. Like when her eyes hardens, like have the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, you know,
Right.
kind of shit. She goes into like full like toga, you know? She goes like Kimiko Toga, where she goes into the like murder mode.
Yeah, she definitely does go into murder mode on page 16.
She's so scary. Her faces though is like she has so like a wide variety of expressions that I'm just like, this worked out really well. I like her character.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, the art in this panel, it almost reminds me of like a Promised Neverland panel. Like the panel of Elizabeth when she is in Emma's face, when she finds out that she knows. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember the panel that I'm talking about?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Basically, did you read Promised Neverland?
I read some of it, and then I think I coasted through most of it. I just don't remember too much, to be honest. It was a while ago.
I think it was in the first, 3 chapters for sure. First, 1 or 2, I think, where, the first kid gets sent off. Emma is like staring at the empty spot on the wall where her picture was or whatever. Not her picture, but a picture that the kid had drawn. And Elizabeth, the mother, like...
Oh, yeah, where she has, like, you're suddenly, like, suspecting...
Right in her face, yeah.
Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember that now. Thank you.
It just reminds me of that panel, yeah.
Dude, I just think the Buddha Sakamoto is the funniest thing. Just like, yes, Buddha, that one guy, I imagine with enlightenment, just a halo of
the Bodhisattva with the guns, the pistols in each hand.
Yeah, no, that was really funny. It reminds me of, it made me think of that, there's a cult in Korea, I think, called Order of the Iron Rod, or Brotherhood of the Iron Rod, and it is about like these guys who like collect guns and are like pro gun rights, but they are like a little weird with it. Like they bless their guns and have like a church of guns.
Weird.
It's very pre-collapse Mad Maxy. You know what I mean? Like It's just like, what are you doing? What? You're preparing for the end times, but your whole like strategy and religion is guns. So good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, right?
So yeah, I mean, I think like you were talking about, the part of the chapter where she kind of loses her shit was kind of my favorite part of the chapter, because we do get this resolve from Shin, right? Where she's like, oh shit, you know Sakamoto too, basically. And oh yeah, he does the back crack. Yeah, he's about to fight her, and he does like the back crack, the Sakamoto back crack. And she's like, oh, chotto mate, and basically starts going off like, the only reason you do that is if you were a true Sakamoto fan. And so she starts getting on his heels. And what does she say exactly that kind of spurs on his dialogue? So what do you love most about Sakamoto? How he shows no emotion. It's as if he's a living, killing machine. And yeah, he basically says, I used to feel that way too. But the thing about Mr. Sakamoto is he's kinder than anybody, pretty much. Sanji type beat. No matter how bad the store is doing, he'd never lay us off. He's always there for us. He's really caring. And so he's like, I want to be able to stand by his side as a true partner, which is obviously what sets her off. And she's like, a partner? I ain't sharing, my boy.
I like how her headcanon is that Sakamoto doesn't need anything or anyone. And she's like, no. You're a fan, but you're doing it wrong. Like, her reaction just made me think of like sometimes like interactions on anime Twitter. They're like, you like this thing, you like the same thing I do, you like it differently, I hate you. Like,
right,
it's the dumbest.
Yeah,
I was like, just appreciate it for what it is. Like, you're both getting something different out of it. You're both witnessing these things at a different angle. You know, you simply have a different relationship with that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but I like the contrast. I like the contrast. I think it's important for Shin because I know in the previous chapters he was talking. It's like, hey man, like, you know, don't go easy on me. We're enemies now. I want to meet you at your level, right? And I'm like, that's ballsy, kid. Like, it's ballsy. Like, good for you. Like, admire the chutzpah, but like,
it's ballsy to think you can handle the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's the first hurdle for sure. She's different.
She's special recommendation. She was hyped up. We haven't even like gotten to this Shania kid that was introduced like a couple chapters ago. Man, I really like the kind of dynamic, like choreography, like bouncing around, her like shooting through trees, like terrain falling apart, them going over the cliffs on page 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Like her swinging around, trying to like reach them, fighting on the log. Like, it's so like, it's like everything I love out of like action movies. You know what I mean? Like really cheesy action movies, like Jason Statham, Crank level of cheesy action films. And I'm here for it the entire time.
Yeah, definitely. And so we get a little bit of backstory for her too, where it looks like she was saved in some way, shape, or form by Sakamoto. Maybe from like a child trafficking ring or something that he kind of busted apart once. And you know, her garb, I should say, kind of looks that way. So you know, who knows? Looks like he saved her from a shitty situation, and that's kind of why she began to idolize him.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I
see like Nagumo in the background too. So like, it's interesting to see that.
Oh yeah, Nagumo was there too with him the faithful knight. I wonder why it was Sakamoto that got her adoration and not Nagumo. Yeah. Must have just been Sakamoto did some more cool shit in front of her.
They were closer. They were closer. Just happened. Sheer proximity and Nagumo just being like, surprise, stealth attack. And Sakamoto just walks in. All right, cool. John Wick multi-man takedown.
Yeah. John Wick multi-man takedown with a pencil. I mean,
that he's done it before. He's straight up done it with like a fucking pencil. He's brutal. Like, he can take them all out. I love her weapon though. Like, it's this weird like shotgun, but with like a shotgun halberd.
It reminds me of Kikaru.
Yeah. The pigtails plus the weapon definitely kind of like give that vibe.
Especially top panel of page 11, big Kikaru vibes. Like when she's landing on you see the pigtails just flowing, and she's just like.
Honestly, the image that I got, it reminded me of Vagabond. The guy who did like the story about like Masashi Miyamoto, and they're having like the samurais, and they like look down at each other, that Kubrick stare, and they're like, "I'm a warrior, master the blade. Today's the day you die," kind of thing. You know, like staring down your opponent, like very spaghetti western.
Yeah.
Kind of vibes. I'm just like, yes, showdown,
your opponent.
Very silly but good action in this series, and like makes me think. I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah, there's definitely some great choreography throughout the chapter, especially now that I'm thumbing back through it. Like, and yeah, the page of them falling off the cliff. Just that dynamic kind of bird's eye view all of a sudden, and the comedy in that Kaji was trying to warn him the whole time, like, oi, y'all are running towards the cliff, bro. Hey, look,
Where are you driving, guy? Where are you going? Hey.
They fell off. They're dumb as fuck.
Dude, they're goofy. Like, I get why Kaji and Torimaru are just like, yeah, we're the special grades, effectively, of this thing. We're the special recommendations. We're the buy entries for this, like, bracket tournament.
Well,
the part that I'm interested in... Sorry.
It almost looks like she's not even targeting him. Like, if you look in the page 4 panel on the top of her shooting through the trees, like, he's off to the other way. Like, she's paying him literally no mind.
On what page?
Page 4, top panel.
I think because, like, they have similar color bands, she's really just going for the bands at first until Shin gets her attention doing that idiosyncratic habit of, like, Sakamoto, and then finding out he's a fan in a different way, like, sets her off to, like, murder. I don't think she's that focused on him initially.
Murder.
No, she's straight going to Murder Town. I mean, I think Shin's gonna do pretty well, because, like, he's my boy. He's got to progress. This is a level up opponent.
Yes.
But the part that I'm wondering about is he tries to read her mind, and what if it's just, like, so much, like, obsessive thinking about Sakamoto that he's like, this is not useful.
This is not useful.
Is it a left hook? Sakamoto.
Sakamoto, yeah, she's
it's like The Shining, where it's just mindless obsession. Yeah.
All you get when you try and look into her shit is just a big Sakamoto.
It's just the Sakamoto body pillow, just a voice screaming, "Get out!"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is a good setup thing. Kind of establishes stakes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't wait to see how things play out between Torimaru and Shin, for sure. Like,
yeah, I wonder if the other, like, special recommendation guy is gonna, like, jump in and be like,
special recommendation party.
That might actually be, like, the turning factor, because, like, if Shin can't read Torimaru's mind, he might overhear Kaji's thought process, like, oh, I'm gonna wait until she lowers her guard, or the moment of her attack, I'll go in, that kind of thing. And so Shin can, like, prep off that, so, like, and, like, be stronger as a collaborative person, like, because he's trying to be, like, a partner to Sakamoto, right? So, like, this is perfect training to, like, work with others, take other people's plans into account, as opposed to using his telepathy as a weapon for, like, one-on-one duels.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the next way. But other than that, I don't think I have too much to say about this chapter.
Yeah, I think that about does it for Sakamoto this week. All right, well, with that, I think we can go ahead and get right into chapter 124 of Mission Yozakura Family. Kyoichiro versus the Yozakura siblings. And not a whole lot to this chapter plot-wise, I guess. There's a lot of character interactions, some good choreography, some awesome, like, art. But, you know, plot-wise, a couple things to touch on. That's really it. But I love how we start off the chapter just with this cover-style paneling of, you know, we get the cover-style paneling a lot in Yozakura, but basically Shion... That is Shion, right? Yeah, that's Shion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just mix up the... I always get Shion confused with Shinzo.
That's fair.
But
they have very similar names.
She's basically like, yep, we got Futaba's on-site data, Kengo's profiling, Nanao samples, we got your bitch ass cornered. You know what I'm saying?
Dead to rights.
Dead to rights. And then Nanao, or not Nanao, but Futaba comes in with the bra-da-da, hits him with the mean two-piece. They clash with the spider net. That panel is drastic on page 4. the Futaba strike against the spider net defense.
I love the like. I actually really like the faint white like wisps of wire like breaking the silhouette of Kuichiro, and like also like dangling over like the entire scene of that panel at the top of 4.
Yeah.
I really like that. Like that's a great touch. It adds a lot of depth, but like plays with like light and doesn't like, because like wires is such a hard like medium to not make look messy, but like taking that like, I think it's an elegant touch. You know what I mean? Because like the risk of having a bunch of black wires is that you create a bunch of scribbles.
Yeah.
Because like it works in small doses. The scribble thing, like at the top of like 7, when he's inside the prison and his arms literally turn to scribbles. But then like I love the motion that like is created in that panel as he like starts spinning and creating like centrifugal force and like all the threads splaying out.
Yeah. So he turns his arms into. I was wondering about that. So like he
I don't think he does. It's just for visual effect. He's kind of like whipping his like wires into like I imagined almost like a cotton candy machine. Like he's turning his arms like a cotton candy machine. He's like causing all his wires to like flare up and then bundle, and then he's got a good grip on them to like create like torque. That's the way I viewed it. Because like if it was something that came from his physical body, then he wouldn't need Shinzo to prepare his wires or weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's not like a Dofi situation. Yeah, he can't turn himself into the wires.
Not yet. He hasn't been completely consumed by the black sakuras.
I mean, so yeah, speaking of that, I guess we learned that he has been inflicted with a poison that is currently like destroying all of his own cells, and will also spread to anybody that comes within a certain proximity to him. Nanao learns this when he gets him with the injection. His arm turns all fucked up, and he's got to cut it off.
I love that moment. Nanao just immediately lopping it off, stabbing himself with a syringe to immediately regrow the arm. And he's like, that decayed really quickly for like a biological powerhouse as myself.
Yeah, he was like, even if my body can't even handle it, bruh, then none of y'all are going to be able to stand up to it at all. It's going to instantly melt you.
This is really cool. I really liked the poison stuff, because I know we talked about how fighting him in an enclosed space and blowing up all the ancestors still like caused like pollen or blood, or in this case the old blood, to like spread and infect him, which I appreciate. The fact that he's being told this, I feel like they want a certain reaction out of him, and I feel like he's doing what they want him to do, which is go off into hiding, cause a panic amongst the family, and literally draw them away. Like, I feel like that's part of the plan.
Yeah.
If we get smoked, Momo is still out there. He's familiar with the house. He can go take care of the house in Mitsumi while the family hunts down Kuichiro, who we've baited into running away and going AWOL by revealing to him our, parting gift.
Yeah.
It's a little Kansas City shuffle, It's just, we want you to look here, but we really want to go here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they're going to, suppress its effects.
Yeah, that's the question. If they gotta, stick him in, an incubator tube until they can figure out a cure. Or like, what the fuck is gonna happen?
Yeah, I don't know, because like I feel like maybe I feel like the bloom is gonna be the key. And they always talk about, like, in the series, they have ongoing themes of this idea of, like, bloodline and being compatible. So I'm wondering if they'll ever do something like a hybridization or graft of the bloom to, like, help stabilize or balance it out. Because, like, the bloom is based off the sonamine that, like, exists in their bodies and enhances them and all that stuff. Yep. So the plants are literally growing from their body. You can take a branch, chop it off a tree, and like cut another tree and like tape it or like bind it there using like string or rubber bands or whatever. And you can graft a tree branch and have multiple trees like bear this different multiple kinds of fruits. Like that is a thing that can happen in botany.
Weird.
So they were talking about the old blood is fighting the new blood, and like one is going to like cancerize the others as parts of his body to propagate and create more of the old blood and create the black bloom. So what if they defeat him and get him to hold still long enough to graft on parts of Tayo's healthy bloom to like balance out the old and the new blood, keep him alive. He's going to be drastically weakened and like story-wise could easily be written out temporarily as he's like learning to stabilize and like rejuvenate because he's at the brink of death anyway because of how he's being poisoned by the old blood.
Yep.
But yeah,
that could be.
That's kind of the take I'm going for. Otherwise, I don't know how this fight's gonna go. Like, what's the win condition for Tayo and the other siblings? You know, is it to stop Koichiro, get him to like accept help,
stop him, stick him in an incubator tube, bring him back to the crib?
Yeah. And then by the time they bring him back there, they'll find, like, where's Mitsumi? You know, I feel like that might be what's happening.
Yeah. That would be crazy. Draw all the family away so they can go get her. That's where Momo's at right now.
Calling it now. You know, I don't feel good about that prediction. I don't like that idea. It's like, you know, it'd be just awful that. And I don't know. I feel like it's definitely within the realm of possibility. And it would fit into kind of like what's happened in the series before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, shit, I mean, other than that, I guess my favorite thing was how we kind of did get the background, I guess, obviously, to Kyoichiro's decision, which is kind of what I had been waiting on.
Oh yeah, 12,
and the explanation on this poison from the old blood, you know, the Tsubomi minion. When our bodies were destroyed, Tsubomi's blood diffused into the air and embedded roots into your body. Like you said, the new blood and the old blood will vie against each other, destroying it in the flesh as they circulate. What's more, that poison will continue to spread like flowering plants. Your siblings will succumb too. Like that's. For somebody like Kyoichiro, that really is like the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, he was going there to try and handle business, help out the fam. He's like, I'm just going to get it all done right now. And then they flip some fucked up shit like that on his head. Man.
I mean, I think that like assassination is about targeted attacking of an opponent. And so like, it just makes sense that they're playing him a little bit.
Yeah.
Like really focusing on his insecurities and like goals and priorities.
Yeah.
To get him to maneuver in a way that they want.
Yeah.
And like I wonder if those ancestors are gonna like come back regenerated with more plant-like features. You know, because like Tsubomi's like the one that's like keeping these ancestors alive, and there's like multiple root spots, right? They're like, you can't kill a Tsubomi unless you get rid of all these root spots, and they have all these ancestors traveling through this network of trees throughout the country to like protect those spots too. So like, yeah, their body's destroyed, but like, for how long? You know?
Yeah.
Do you feel like they could be resurrected or reanimated or something like that?
Proper, like in full form, not just like flower kind of ethereal ghost being.
I feel like they'd have physical bodies, but it'd be mostly like dirt and trees comprising their body. Like the trees mimicking a blood circulatory system, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible.
Yeah, it reminds me of what have you? It's that old school Naruto ability. It was like Shiki Tensei or something like that, where it's like they bring back the Hokage as zombies.
Oh, you're talking about Edo Tensei, the resurrection.
Yes, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, I know I'm butchering it.
Reincarnation jutsu, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm imagining something like more along the lines of that.
Yeah. Yeah, the Edo Tensei would be nutty. The full on. Like bringing back proper. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. I don't think I really have too much. I just think like the art in this chapter really, really pops in multiple places. Like the panel, you know, of Futaba on page 1, the action panel, page 4, not page 1, but page 2, Futaba. Page 4, the clash panel between Futaba and Kyoichiro, like we pointed out earlier. The panel of Kyoichiro breaking out of the box.
Dude, that was cool. I liked how they used magnetism to trap him, and then he immediately like cut his way through all that horicalcum type stuff. It's like, damn.
Yeah,
and then the easy to go down.
The double spreads, obviously, the page 16, 17 double spread with the Kyoichiro's kind of AoE attack, and then the double spread of Kyoichiro himself and Taiyo on the last page, like both of those, with that ethereal kind of spiritual looking art, you know,
like the pressure.
Yeah, and it just, dude, the art pops.
It was really reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z, you know, where they're just like waves of pressure and power exuded, like, outward. I was like, yes. Very classic shonen.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how the white, you know, / pink blossoms counteract the black blossoms of Kyoichiro. But other than that, I guess I don't really have too much for this chapter.
The part that I liked was the mirroring of 8 and 9 with 18, 19. Right? So if you're because like 8 and 9, you have Kyoichiro in the foreground, and you have his siblings staring at him, and you can see that like he's the focus of what they're looking at.
Yeah, and they're like, what the fuck is these blackmailing?
Yeah, and then 18, 19, you get the parallel of Taiyo, and Kyoichiro is on the left-hand panel observing Taiyo, and he's the focus of where he's looking. Yeah. And I love that kind of like yin-yang kind of thing going for them.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like small editing techniques that I'm just like, I'm about that. I like that a lot.
Right.
I can see why you called Futaba Nanao early, because like her face is like just child Nanao's face.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, it's crazy because like
Oldest is smallest,
familial
youngest is the
resemblance,
biggest.
all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Did you have anything else for this chapter?
No, I'm stoked to see next week, though.
I definitely am.
Taiyo is gonna put his effort into it, and I wonder if he's gonna like invoke some of like the president's advice or something like that. Be like, Kuchiro, snap out of it. Like, why do you think you're being positioned like this? And they all rush to the mansion or something like this.
Yeah. Well, I think that about does it for Mission Yozakura Family this week. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and jump right into chapter 180 of Jujutsu Kaisen Sendai Colony Part 7. And we get this cover with Rika Orimoto holding Cursed Spirit Rika and Yuta.
Yeah, in plushie form.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that like she doesn't drop a shadow, but like a spatter of blood, and then it's kind of sandwiched between like the halo of flowers that she has.
Yeah.
Which like I feel like the spatter of blood basically represents the idea that she died a horrible death, and then the halo of flowers, they are, I believe they're halcyon hostas, which are halcyon is basically a Greek word, a Greek rooted word. It basically represents the idea of like an idyllic past, or like, you know, the good times. Yeah. Effectively, a time in your past that you viewed as like golden or perfect, and has such become much more romanticized than the current day that you experience or the future. So that's where Halcyon comes from, and so I like that Rika Oritomo is like torn between the remembrance of tragedy and then like the halcyon days of youth kind of thing. Combined with like the toys of like the current Rika and the current Yuta, of like just a formative childhood memory. And it's just like there's a lot to unpack in this one image, and it's like it's very beautiful, very charming, and like simple in a minimalistic way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed this cover.
I also did as well. I didn't, I'm glad you kind of got in the Duffy like that, because I didn't really look that deep into it, especially not, I don't know that I would have been able to identify the flowers like you did, so that definitely was incredible.
I tried, because I had a hint. I was like, I think this is what the plant is called, and I just Googled like Halcyon hostas, and I'm like, yeah, star-like fringe, like horn shape. Yeah, that looks about right.
Well, yeah. Getting into the actual chapter, we start off with like the narration saying that Yuta can only release a directed high output blast cursed energy while Rika is completely manifested. Even at full power, however, it's slightly weaker than Ishigori, so he was planning on like releasing a bunch of small ones in intervals to keep him from being able to charge her completely, but he catches a gaze from Ishigori that's basically just saying like, let's go with everything. You know what I'm saying? So they basically charge up. Yuta, you know, caves. We get this funny panel just this once.
Just this once.
And yeah, they clash with everything they got. Beams. Pff. I love this double page spread on 4 and 5. Like,
yeah, the double firework clash, just like beautiful stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I really quite like this, because like Yuta seems like a hyper practical individual, and so like for Ishigori's like romanticism to kind of like reach him, register, and then cause him to like reconsider his actual course of action. He's like, you know what? You want a slugfest? I'll give you a proper slugfest. You know,
Yeah.
because he even says like, though he'd probably never find meaning in fighting, you know, his heart was still moved, and I was like, that's cool. I like that. The idea that like it's a really elegantly done version of that shonen trope where like if you cross fists with someone, if you fight someone in battle, you understand them in a way that no one else can, kind of thing. Like only people that are, you know, living that life, fighting that fight can understand. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. I dig it. Like, it's a great 2-3 just double spread right off the bat into a double spread. Like, fantastic, dude. It
deep in the Duffy.
He did it. The part that I liked the most about Ishigori is that his hair stayed coiffed until the very end. Like, the sign of his defeat is that his hair has finally come unraveled.
Yeah, that was really funny. His defeat, is signaled by the releasing of the pompadour.
Turns out, cursed energy is the best pomade.
But yeah, Ishigori wins the clash. Obviously, kind of blows Yuta back, and he's like, "Oh, that was sweet." He has Rika release another blast while he kind of runs up at him. He easily kind of brushes this one off, and he was thinking like, okay, his technique still shouldn't be back. And then we get the panel where he hits him with the granite blast. Yuta uses Uro's technique. Shoop! Sends that bitch up.
Dude, I really liked the kind of like alley-oop reverse. Like, I really like that ability, and like it made me wonder, because like the previous chapter when like Kuroroshi was just like, I love the taste of iron, and like just swarming.
Yeah.
I wondered why Rika like immediately ate Uro's arm, and I was like, why'd you have to do that? That's creepy. Like, I expected that from the roach demon, but like, Rika, why'd you do that? So
turns out it's the condition.
Yeah, that's really cool, or at least it's potentially the condition as far as Ishigori is concerned.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which I think is really interesting. Which makes you wonder. He's used the cursed voice, and he's used Gojo's like purple. So did he do like a Deku All Might thing where he like had Rika eat their hair, or like toenails, or like a sample of their blood, or what?
Maybe. I mean, so I guess an easy way around it. I guess obviously you wouldn't want to take the easy way out, and Gege usually never does. I'm sure the explanation is going to be way better than this, but I guess something simple to just kind of get around all those things would be that like maybe Rika or Yuta just has to come in contact with your actual like cursed energy. Because there would be residual cursed energy in the arm of Uro. I'm assuming, right? Because cursed energy persists after death.
True.
Even
like
so,
the curtain guys would be like, oh, we noticed traces of this and that going on. Like when Maki destroyed the Zenin clan.
Yeah.
They were just like, hey, there's trace elements. We believe it's the source to be a weapon. This is a recognizable and quantifiable amount of data that we can incur. But yeah, no, like, it might be because, like, he only did the abilities that Uro used on him, like, directly on him, because he did the thing with the arm, when she did that thing with his arms and made it all loopy. And then she also did the little ice break ability on him, or whatever it's called. It's thin icebreaker.
Yeah.
That was really interesting. But the part that I really liked was when they were like sparring and he does like the kind of like mixed martial arts jujitsu kind of grab on page 16, 17 when they're like exchanging blows, and Ishigori's just going full like brawler haymaker kind of swings with all these hooks.
Yeah.
And like Yuta is just like grabs one side, pulls, and like uses his jacket to pin his arms to like keep him from struggling, and then holds him in position so that the reflected granite blast is like, whoa, boom.
Yeah.
I loved that. I was like, that's a nice realistic take on it, as opposed to like, oh, I just noticed, like I got hit and it blindsided me, that kind of thing. I like that he, took him seriously enough to like hold him down and forced him to do that.
Yeah. So, I also do really like just that artistic touch in the last panel of the dessert plate empty.
Mm-hmm.
That was so
with
good.
The crumbs.
People were speculating in the live chat for this reaction that like at this point now, Kogane is going to pop up and introduce the rules that Yuji got.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that'll kind of put a halt on these events here, because Yuta obviously was like, I'm going to just run through everybody and get everything done myself. Fuck them. So I don't know. I've got hope that we still may be able to recruit one, if not both, of the players here. Keep in mind that Kogane also has not announced Uro's death.
No, she's still alive, and I feel like, unlike Todo, she can still use her ability.
Yeah.
With just one hand. I feel like she genuinely still can, do, a circular whip rotation and like pull the sky around her. I wonder if she's using the ability on her arm stump to like prevent the bleeding.
Yeah.
Because like she did it to his arm, and he's like, I can't feel my arm. I can't. It's not like quite existing. So I wonder if she's like wrapping the stump and then like twisting it like the end of a joint a little bit to like using the sky surface thing to like ply that space as a physical object. To like kind of like use her curse technique to effectively triage or like cauterize the wound.
Tourniquet. Oh yeah.
Yeah, tourniquet. There we go. Thank you. I was like struggling with the word. I was like, here's like a bunch of similar effects.
Yeah, you could definitely probably tourniquet off a wound with her curse technique. We also get Rika in this chapter information that Rika's kind of like a glass cannon, effectively. Like, she can output a lot of damage. She can like throw hands. She can throw cursed beams. But we do get the narrator saying 5 minutes the connection between Rika and Okotsu would end. A single blow that was too much for Rika, even when completely manifested, would cause her to reach her limit. So I don't
effectively think she's fragile though, because she's taken hits before.
Yeah.
And
Uro did clock her once, or not Uro, but Ishigori did clock her once already in the jaw. Pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's Ishigori's ability to just output damage, because he's like, every time I output damage, it's the maximum amount of damage. He's doing that instantaneous release kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like she's probably sturdier. She's sturdy enough to like survive a lot of attacks, but not from Ishigori.
Yeah.
And like he did like a full swing.
Yeah, he did put his back into it.
He put his fucking back into it. Yeah, page 14, like dead eyes, like he went full Moruo, right? Like he just went, I'm gonna punch a yokai, go,
Yeah. Or actually, wait. I think she kind of starts to disappitate. And then he hits her because, yeah, in the panel where it says 5 minutes of connection between Riko and Okotsu would end. I think it was announcing that 5 minutes because she kind of starts to turn into some smoke. Like in the panel before, it's her body. In that panel, you can't even
turning. Yeah, because she has that all white form.
Yeah.
At the top of page 14, and then her body slowly becomes blackened like shadowy smoke, and she loses the giant eyeball.
And you see the and you see the exclamation point. Yeah, she's definitely like downgrading.
Mm-hmm. So just a combination of those things.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
That's nutty. That's a really good spot.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Then we get the end basically where he drops the blast on him. Ishigori's like satisfied. He's gotten his dessert, and I don't know. I can't wait to see what happens next chapter. Sorry, go ahead.
I do want to see if he gets like spared. He's like, oh yeah, no, the introduction of this rule doesn't mean that our deaths would literally be meaningless. You know, you gave me something that I couldn't find in a past life. You know, I maybe feel indebted to you, that kind of thing, for meeting me on the battlefield on my terms and still like taking me to town and like reading my rights.
Yeah.
The way I see it.
And Yuta doesn't look like, you know, he looks pleased. He looks like he's having fun here. So I don't know. He could, he definitely doesn't look like his cold, calculated, another day at work self like he's been the last, you know, probably 5-10 chapters. Like, it's
I think that's his weakness, is that because he admires Gojo so much, you know, like Yuta admires Gojo. He's like, you know, who's there for the strongest in the world? Who actually helps them when they're down? I want to be that person. And he respects Gojo. Gojo is always characterized by being a free-spirited person. You know, come what may, the world's, you know, here for me. I'm free. He, like, Gojo epitomized himself via freedom, right? He's like, I don't care about traditions. I don't care about standards. I want to live the way I want to live, and I want to help people that want to live that way.
Yeah.
He encouraged that sentiment in the next generation through Megumi, through Yuji, through Nobara, and like Yuta and stuff. So I think that like the way that Ishigori lives his life would resonate with Yuta. And I think that's why he accepted that kind of like challenge to do it, to fight in a way that's not logical.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's about all I had for this week.
The only thing I had left was the 4-5 spread of Rika in the background with the floating one eye. Reminds me of a series called Monstrous. I know Knox has been reading that one. It's a really good series if you're ever interested in like more of a Western comic to a little palate cleanse, mix things up. The other part was page 9 of, because like I remember Yuta barehanded blocking Ishigori's granite blast, and he's like, oh damn, you're tough. And then I love that Ishigori's like, anything you can do, I can do better. And it made me think of butterfly in the sky, I can fly twice as high. I've read the sitch, I think you're a bitch, reading Rainbow. Just like, love it. Just like stunting on each other for no good reason. And I just like, God.
Just a machismo bravado fight, man. Hell yeah. But yeah, I think that about does it for me. This chapter, and the art definitely is great, man. Like the thin icebreaker panel, the dessert,
all the impact, different textures, like when Uro is able to do that, like
when he does Uro's technique,
cowl flip.
When Ishigori is able to do what?
When Yuta's able to like flip the granite blast.
Oh yeah. When Yuta uses Uro's technique to flip it up, that art on that panel is definitely great. But yeah, I think that about does it. All right. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and get into the final chapter of the night, chapter 1045 of One Piece. Whoa. Next level. And we start off with the color cover, color spread, Sea of Liberty. Nice little feel-good color spread with all the Straw Hats hanging out, doing their thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got.
I love it. It reminds me of like those large boats that take on tours.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the large double-decker like boats that like go around, and they're like, and here's our the pearl farms of West Hangzhou.
Like the river cruise boats or whatever.
Yeah, like, welcome to Westlake. Here's the pearl farms, and here's the mountains to your left. The shore is actually quite far. You can't see across it in one go. It creates the mist, which is what made the Westlake famous in multiple paintings and that kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
it's got that vibe.
Yeah, definitely has a nice, toury, feel good, lighthearted vibe to it for sure.
I mean, it fits this chapter, to be honest. Like,
yeah, for sure. But getting into the
full Looney Tunes,
he does go full fucking Looney Tunes, man. Like, I guess getting into the chapter, Kaido and Luffy kind of talking at the beginning. Kaido's like, "I thought you were dead." Given that you're transferring your rubber shit to other things, I'm taking you're awakening it, but you're also transforming. So something's seeming a little fishy. Kaido's kind of figuring it out,
Yeah.
Showing that he's no slouch mentally. I like that.
Honestly, I think it's really funny, the idea that, like, because Kaido was, like, ridiculous when he was drunk. He went through the multiple stages, like crying drunk, anger drunk, flirty drunk, stop, kind of stuff. And he was ridiculous. But, like, when it's Luffy's turn to be more ridiculous and one-up him, he's like, no, that's too much. And I'm like, bro, I saw you in the last couple chapters.
Yeah.
You're fine.
We see what you've been doing, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Luffy proceeds to do all kinds of weird, wonky, Looney Tunes fucking shit that had me absolutely dying, laughing my ass off reading the chapter. Like, Kaido eats him. He fucking pinballs around in Kaido's stomach like balloons, floats up, fucking makes Kaido float up. Somehow fucking gets up into his skull cavity without messing with his brain or organs.
Yep.
Fucking throws his arms out his eyeballs, attaches himself to the nose, fucking rockets himself out of his mouth. Like, what the fuck is actually happening, dude?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, because, like, his abilities seem to be operating on, like, Who Framed Roger Rabbit Toontown level of powers, right? Like Yu-Gi-Oh's Toon World level of powers.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, I can do anything, but only if it's funny. And seems to be the key thing, because I remember Roger Rabbit being able to, like, pick a hole off the ground, slap it onto the wall, reach through it, and then peel it off like a sticker, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, like, Luffy is effectively doing.
Yeah, I mean, like they said, it's just the most ridiculous power in existence. It allows him to fight in any way he wants, which is crazy. Yeah, it just applies this Looney Tunes logic to, like, not only him, but, like, the world around him, the people around him. Like, Kaido has this Looney Tunes logic applied to him, like, with like, what we were talking about. How is he inside of his head and can throw his arms out of his eyeballs without being in his brain? Like, it's weird. It's strange.
12 and 13 are great examples of that, where he shoots through his head and has, like, his eyes pop out of his skull, and he gets all his allies able to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
even Kid-in-Law.
Yes. It's that's wide-ranging, that targets everybody. The fact that, like, he gets shot through and then his head gets stuck and he has to pull it through again is just, like, goofy.
Yeah. But The Gum Gum Giant, though. So,
dude, that was a cool little spread.
This is crazy because gigantification is something that they've been after for a long time. So is this something they're trying to mimic from this fruit, maybe?
Probably.
It wouldn't be too far-fetched, but yeah, that was definitely an insane panel when he came down with the Gum Gum Giant. And I thought he was going to do more, but, he did jump rope the fuck out of Kaido and shit. And he did kind of get, as a giant, pretty easily dealt with, it seemed like.
I mean, he used his giant form to jump rope, so it's like he's still doing it. My favorite thing was on page 16 when he gets hit in the back of the head with the bagua.
Oh, yep.
And then his nose becomes a spike. There's spikes all over his forehead. His tongue becomes a spike. And I was just like, he reminded me of Junkrat from Overwatch.
Oh my god!
In that moment, no, I was just like, oh my god, but that's a cartoony character in of itself. So I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. It's keeping up. And then he's running around his head. His face looks like the lower panels. His face looks like the Roadhog, like the Junkrat wheel.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man.
The Junkrat wheel.
Yeah, he went from Junkrat to the wheel real quick. What do you think of the page 14 panel where he's drying up and then immediately pops back? Page 15.
Well, I mean, he's kind of, that's his body saying you're kind of at the limits of where you can go without putting yourself in jeopardy, right? Which is kind of what Kaido says when he goes back into the awakening. He's like, oh, I was dying before this. It takes a lot of energy. And then he goes back into the awakening saying this can't end yet. We got all these people we're fighting for. And Kaido says basically careful or you'll die. So I think he's basically just kind of surpassing his limits in a sense where, or forcing himself past his limits, maybe more accurately is the thing to say. And Kaido says, if you're not careful, you'll die doing that. And he's like, you actually think I care? So
yeah, I was wondering what the purpose of that, or it was literally just to be silly, but I do like the implication that there's actually serious repercussions going to that. Do you think that we might see him, because he's he's warping reality, right? His ability warps reality, and he could potentially die. We saw the Grim Reaper, who was proven not to be Brooks, right? Coming towards Zoro.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if death appears for Luffy and he uses the Nika Nika fruit ability to literally just tell death not today? It's psych, I ain't gonna die. Joke's on you, dude. I refuse to. And just put the smack down on death. But I don't know. It's just that's a side thought. I don't think that's actually gonna happen, but I think it would be very interesting if that actually does happen. Because I'm not sure how. Because One Piece is actually pretty good at the side effect aspect of overexerting yourself. They're really good with the consequences, and they don't have egregious power-ups without having a fallback, a blowback towards sort of thing. So I'm wondering what's gonna happen there, and if the Nika Nika fruit's gonna be the way out of it too. There's a really hard line that I liked in the same page 14. He's like, you have my assurances that after you die, someone will tell your tale of your great battle. He's like, I don't need any of that. Once we're dead, the only thing that's left is bones, and just starts cackling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, that's cold.
And that was regular Luffy. That wasn't the Joy Boy. That wasn't him laughing. That was real Luffy laughing. Mm-hmm. And that's just, that's why I feel that part was interjected, is just to, show that there is some seriousness in Luffy's. There's some serious aspects to Luffy's character. Mm-hmm. Because while he is mostly jovial and goofy, there are some serious aspects to his character and some serious lessons that he's learned in his life that he does hold, close to his heart. And one is that, there's no such thing as a fair fight in the world of pirates. Once we're dead, all that's left is bones. There's no need in the story afterward.
Yeah, I mean, that really plays in because, how he's, really butted against the idea of, Wano samurai believing in such a thing as a good death. And, we want a good death. We want honorable death. And he's like, there ain't no such thing. Once you're dead, you're dead. There's no amount of honor that changes that fact.
What matters is how you lived your life when you were here. Mm-hmm. How free you were.
I liked that a lot. I wonder how he's gonna finish the fight, or if because one of the rules of cartoons, right? For cartoon violence, for Tom and Jerry level violence, the main rule for a Disney cartoon, for Looney Tunes stuff, is that it never truly hurts.
Yeah.
So we're watching Luffy just in Nika Nika form punch his fist through Kaido's head and then retract, leave his face, not a giant hole. So it's he's getting wailed on, but how much damage is actually going through it?
I mean, I think that we can say this is a fair amount of damage only because it does put Kaido on his ass and his eyes are kind of whited out, and also you can see the black lightning. So this is a Conqueror's Haki, Armament Haki imbued attack. You can see the black, the Armament Haki on his fist in the panel afterward. I think you don't see it on his fist going through Kaido's face because it's literally Kaido's skin stretching out of the back of his head. He literally just bopped his shit the fuck in.
Okay.
But I do think it was a devastating attack, despite the visual nature of it, not making it look like it.
Yeah, because there's lightning going all the way through on every single panel of that fist. 1819, except for when he pulls his fist out of Kaido, but then Kaido's seems to be electrified by that black lightning.
Yeah, even then the Conqueror's Haki's still kind of flowing through him. I think that's that Ryo, But I mean, the onomatopoeia, the sound effects for the punch hitting is giant. Kaboom! It slapped the fuck out of him, I think, for sure.
Yeah, it's the same thing as when it's almost the same size and stuff when Kaido was doing the Thunder Bagua against Luffy on page 16.
Yeah.
If you look at the side effects, I like how he's using the sound effect size to reinforce the idea of comparable damage.
Yeah. Yeah, because that kaboom, that boom, that's a hitter right there for. Mm-hmm. And Yamato and Momo both react.
The only one bigger is when he's doing the Gum Gum Giant. That's the only time the sound effect is bigger than that.
Oh yeah. And it's dome. I felt like that Gum Gum Giant should have been a little more devastating than it was, but whatever.
I think it's because he interrupted. He spiraled around and bit him in the side, because that happens in the same page. Where he gets bitten in the side and then Luffy as a reaction grabs him by the head and the tail.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So, I think that's probably Kaido counted it pretty well.
Yeah, give him a big old breath blast.
And he also on page 11 does this running Looney Tunes running wheel thing with the fire.
Yeah,
The fire, I feel, is an important point because this is something that obviously he has the hawk attacks that are flaming, and it's been speculated that this could possibly be part of the Nika fruit. It could possibly be like inherited will from Ace. Like, so I feel the fire here is more indicative of the former, right? It's part of the Nika fruit.
It's the Nika fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his head is a whole giant ball of fire.
Right.
And he's got that little burning cape of cloud.
Yep, and like the feet effect here while he's like literally running across the sky with the fire.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's that case as well. Like he's leaving like an after image of his like cloud cape.
Yeah. It also could be clouds though. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I think it's like his version of what Kaido's using to move the Onigashima.
I think it actually is clouds probably because his hair is white.
Yeah, he's got white hair. He's got
white clothes.
Like
the
sash. He's got that cloud sash wrapped around his shoulders because he's like a thunder god.
Mm-hmm. And his shirt actually turns white too.
Yeah, that was an interesting part. I was like, it reminded like the fact that he was like turning all white made me think of Teach, like Blackbeard.
Oh yeah.
And how he turned completely black. So, and he's like, he has the darkness fruit, and he was able to absorb multiple fruit abilities because of this darkness. So I'm wondering if that is also like another mythical human type fruit or some sort, and that it is like there's a potential to have like a mythological rival of the Nika fruit. Or it could just simply just be this is the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the element of darkness and the void is the dark fruit. And then Nika is like the opposite reaction where you are a human, and if you're in the dark, you create light.
Yeah.
To illuminate the space you're in. That's what it means to be human. So, but I think it's interesting, like they have the color contrast, and I wonder if this is going to be pertinent to their inevitable clash in the series finale.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is definitely a good question and a good spot.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how long this Kaido fight's going to be. I think the whole Wano thing has been going on for quite a while, so it's hard to predict the longevity of anything in this series. I feel like maybe one or two more chapters of like actual fighting or something, like one or two. It feels like it should be wrapped up fairly soon.
Yeah, it feels like this is definitely the climactic, the final portion of the fight here. So I agree. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know if I had really anything else, too much else for the chapter here.
Yeah, fun antics, very cool. It's very nostalgic in that Yu-Gi-Oh kind of way.
Love Gear 5, like,
mm-hmm.
I think it fits Luffy's character perfectly. I don't know, people are so upset about it, they want Luffy to be serious.
But he's not serious.
The series he's never been serious. The series has never really been serious
except for human rights. That's it.
Exactly. The only time he gets serious is when you fuck with his friends or when you fuck with somebody's human rights, yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's like, man, you're robbing these people of, like, basic dignity? All right, we'll throw hands. Cool, moving on. Like, but other than that, he's just been a goofy guy, very lighthearted, and, like...
And so
I think that's a certain level of strength. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because, like, this series covers war, slavery, genocide, all these things, harsh realities of the world. And I think that, like, when faced with all the awfulness in the world, true strength in response to that is showcased in the ability to still be able to laugh, still be able to, like, enjoy the world, and, like, cultivate that enjoyment in a way that can be shared with others, and, like, sharing your own, like, happiness and joy among the world, instead of like, oh, I'm seeing all this negativity, I'm seeing all this evil in the world, and it has jaded me and made me brittle. You know what I mean? And I think that's been a core part of One Piece's like themes for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, the world's awful. Yes, we have to face it, but that doesn't mean it's the end of joy.
Yes. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good note to end off the chapter on. So yeah, that'll do it for this chapter of One Piece. And that will do it for this episode of the Project Manga Podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did, be sure to slap a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more fire weekly content like this. Also, as we said before, be sure to take a look in that description box down below where you can find links to any and all of our individual social media accounts such as Twitter, online communities like Discord, audio listening platforms to consume the podcast on, as well as ways to support the show such as our online store or our Patreon. And with all those words said, this will be another fantastic episode of the Project Manga Podcast. Wrapping up, I'm your host, Eagle.
And I'm Melly Ennis. Take care.
Peace!